the truth? You can't handle the truth. Truth.
And now, live from the Star Worldwide Studios Tower, overlooking the fifth largest city in America and heard worldwide, it's the Josh Bernstein Show. Liberal hypocrisy and leftist lunacy exposed and dismantled with intellect and facts. And now, here's your unapologetic host, Josh Bernstein.
You know, we should have as much dialogue and openness as possible. Have you felt the change in the tone and tenor of the feds out there? We certainly have. We used to could walk up to them and talk with the FBI agents in a friendly manner, unarmed and stuff, but the tenor has changed. They have become more hardened. And when they step out of their vehicles, now they're stepping out with their rifles. And they're not willing to engage in just friendly dialogue. And then I'm assuming that you're aware of all the extra vehicles that they're bringing in and the increase in manpower that they're ramping up. And we're saying, why the rattling of the saber? Why, when we're so far away from anybody out here in the middle of nowhere, why are you ramping it up? Why do you fly your planes over nonstop? And why do you have your drones? Because they're droning this now. And they're actually flying their photographer planes. They're doing all the things. They're doing all the things that shows that they want to take some kinetic action against us. And we're saying, why be so unfriendly?
Welcome to another hard-hitting edition of the Josh Bernstein Show. I wanted to start this week's show with that clip of Robert Lavoie Finnegan. Let me say this. I know that we have an election going on right now, and we've got Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and all these great things. And we'll touch on that a little bit later on in the program. But between me and you, I'm angry. I'm pissed off because we have an American that was murdered and killed, and nobody cares about it. The media, nobody. They're not doing anything about it. And it's sickening. It is absolutely sickening. Now, I started the show with that clip, because that was one of the last interviews that Lavoie Finnegan gave. And in that clip, you can clearly see that he was getting worried. He was getting worried that the FBI was ramping up the saber rattling, that the drones were flying overhead more and more frequently. He talked about how in the past he could just walk up on them and say hello, and they were cordial and they were nice. Now, they've got their guns out. They've got their hands on their guns. And as he said, in his words, they're getting ready to use some type of kinetic energy. Well, we all know the type of kinetic energy that was used. Now, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go point by point through this shooting. And I'm going to go through the entire thing in depth, like nobody in the media has done. Okay? I will once again do the job for Fox News, CNN, MSN, ABC, CBS, NBC, you name it, they can't do what I do. I'm not bragging, it's just the reality that they don't care to. Okay? But I do, because an American patriot was killed. And that is a travesty in itself. So, I'm now going to roll this next clip. Now remember, people are trying to say that Lavoie Finnegan had a gun. Go ahead and roll this clip.
He decided to just drive. So we all got down on the floorboard, and he took off, and then they started firing at us. They started shooting us a bunch of times, and then they had a roadblock set up, and so he ran into a snowbank, and they were like riddling the car with bullets. And then they, like when we crashed, they stopped for a second. He got out of the car, and he had his hands in the air. He's like, and rest. He's like, just shoot me then. This is what you want, just shoot me. And they did. They shot him dead. They shot him like right there because he was just walking with his hands in the air, and I saw it. I swear to God, he was just walking with his hands in the air, and they shot him, and they shot him dead. And then after he was down on the ground, they shot him 3 more times, and then they bombarded our vehicle with bullets flying. I hit the shoulder. We were laying there on the floorboard screaming, and they gassed us like 5 times, and they kept trying to shoot us, and their angle was bad, so I don't know. We were praying like so hard, and we were screaming like, "Stop, please, stop, please, stop!" And they were just riddling us with bullets.
Okay. Now, in this clip, you hear from an 18-year-old gal, Victoria Sharp. Victoria was in the car. This is about as first-hand account as you can possibly get. Okay? She was inside the car. Now, you can hear in this clip that she talks about the fact that he got out of the car with his hands up and they started to shoot at him. He had his hands up, folks. Okay? There's nothing you can say about that. This is a true hands up, don't shoot, not like the thugs with Black Lives Matter or Black Lives Matter and Freddie, whatever his name is, in Baltimore. These were thugs, okay? I'm not saying they deserved to be shot, but what I am saying is that this was a patriot. This is somebody who walked out of his vehicle with his hands up, okay? Now, in the next clip, I'm going to go through each shot. Some people say 3 shots. Some people say as many as 9 shots. I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to look through this, and I've looked through it over and over, and from what I can gather, there's 7 shots. There could be more, there could be less. But I'm going to try to point out, frame by frame, where I think these shots are coming from. But before I do that, you noticed that she says that his hands were up. Why did they speed off? Why did they go off on a chase? Well, it's very simple. Because they were being shot at. They were being shot at. Now, what would you do if you were being shot at? You'd probably panic too and take off, right? So then what happens? They hit a snow embankment. They almost hit an officer. And then he gets out of the car with his hands up. And as far as I can tell, he was executed right there on the side of the road. Now, I take a lot of pride in what I do. I have a lot of integrity in what I do, and I try to report the news as truthful and as honest as I possibly can. That's why you all love to watch the show, and I will continue to do that. Now, in this next clip, I'm going to break down each one of the shootings. Now, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to watch the clip. Then I'm going to break down where I think each one of these shots occurred. And then when we're done, I'm going to play the clip again in its entirety so that you, the viewer, can see what I have painstakingly come to fruition to find out what I believe is exactly the account of what happened. Okay? Go ahead and roll this clip. Okay. Now, this clip, obviously, it's very disturbing, number one. But number two, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that are going on. And to the naked eye, maybe you don't notice all of the different things. So I'm going to try to point it out. And when I'm done, we're going to roll the clip again so that you can kind of see where I'm coming from. And you may agree and you may disagree. That's fine. Now, the first shot, I believe, is from the FBI agent that he almost hits with the vehicle. If you notice the way the guy jumps out and he's got his arms out with the gun, I believe that that was the first shot. Now, I don't know if it did anything, if it hit anybody or what, but that was certainly more than likely the first shot. The second shot is behind the dark pickup truck. There is another gentleman that pops into the screen real quick, and he takes a shot, and then he runs away to your right. Okay? I believe that that was the second shot. Now, after that shot, you'll notice that Lavoie immediately clutches his guts, his side, his chest, and he leans down. Now, there's been a lot of theories there that he was leaning to get a gun. Again, I don't believe that was the case. There was another theory that he was in deep snow and therefore he lost his footing and balance. And when you lose your footing and balance, what happens? Your hands go down to catch your balance. That's another theory. But the other theory, which certainly looks like it from this perspective, is that he was grabbing at his chest after being shot. Now, shot number 3 comes from the bottom right. As that one guy comes onto the screen, it's kind of fuzzy, he shoots and then runs away. You can clearly see the guy on the bottom right near the white truck, he is near the truck is shooting. So that would be your third shot. Your fourth shot is coming from Lavoie's left-hand side behind his back. You see the long rifle coming from the side on the left. I believe that there's a shot that goes and hits him in the back. After that shot, there's a fifth shot. And I believe that that fifth shot was the one that was shooting him in the back of his head. That's the shot where his body collapses and he falls completely down onto the ground. The sixth shot, I believe, is when he was already down on the ground. Now, Victoria Sharp's testimony clearly states that they continued to shoot at him while he was on the ground. Well, if you look at the video closely, the sixth shot is more than likely coming from that direction, and it hits him somewhere probably in the chest. And even after all of that, even after all of those shots, he still puts his hands up, even on the ground, dying on the ground with his last breaths. He still puts his hands up. The seventh shot, I believe, was also on the ground where all the other shots were. And Lavoie, again, is still with his hands up. There's one more shot coming from your right, and in that one, he stops moving. To think that an American citizen, a patriot, could just be taken out like this is just so upsetting. It's so sickening. Now, what I want you to understand is this. The FBI has released this aerial footage. They have released this grainy aerial footage from atop, okay? Now, I believe that the reason that they're doing that is because in the grainy imaging, you can't tell 100% whether or not he was reaching for a gun, okay? That's more than likely the reason why they released this aerial footage, this drone footage, because they want you to go away. They want you to say, oh, look, it's a foregone conclusion. He had a gun. We had to shoot him to protect ourselves, and that's it, right? I don't believe that to be the case. Now, could I be proven wrong in the future? I absolutely could. And if I am, I'll do a show on that as well. Now, before I get into the next part of this, I want you to now watch the clip in its entirety, and I want you to look for the first shot, the second shot, the third shot, the fourth shot, the fifth shot, the sixth shot, and the seventh shot, and look for yourself slowly as it happens, and it unfolds pretty quickly. Try to follow along with the video. Go ahead and roll it. Okay, so as you can see from that, when you play it in its entirety, it's starting to make more sense. When you break it down as I have done, and others have done, you can clearly see that there was certainly more than 3 shots. Was there 9 shots? I don't know. I know the family has made mention that when they've received his body, that they said there was at least 9 shots. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm not agreeing with that. I'm saying from what I can gather, there's at least 7 shots. I may be wrong. I don't know. But this whole thing is such a tragedy. Such a tragedy. You know, you've got thugs, as I said earlier, like Michael Brown, who holds up a store at gunpoint. Okay? Charges at an officer with his head down and is obviously shot for good reason. Okay? What happens then? The media is everywhere, marching in the street. People are burning down police cars. People are raiding stores and destroying their neighborhoods, right? All this crazy stuff. The same thing that happened with Freddie Gray. This guy had a criminal arrest record longer than Hillary Clinton's emails. All right? And what happens there? The same thing. They break up their neighborhoods, they bomb police cars, they bomb CVS's, they destroy buildings and businesses, and the stupid mayor says we give them space to destroy. All this stuff, right? We've got some patriots standing up against the federal government. They go out into the middle of bum you-know-what Egypt, where there's nobody around, and they get murdered, and they get killed and shot at. But yet, in Baltimore and in every other city where there's murders going on every single day, Chicago, look at the record murders that go on in Chicago. One patriot gets killed and it's silence. Crickets. Nobody cares. It goes to show you our priorities are so screwed up in America. Where someone that stands up against a tyrannical government is gunned down, and yet someone else that goes into a store, shoots someone, charges at a cop, does all these crazy things, has an arrest record, and he's treated like a hero. Sickening. Sickening. Now, is there a possible motive for shooting Lavoie? I believe in some respects that when they decided to do this, ambush by fooling everyone and having them go out to this John Day Senior Center to do this speech, I believe that their intent was to kill. I truly do. And the proof of that is him putting his hands up. If they didn't want to kill him, and he had his hands up, he'd still be alive. I believe that there was intent here. Now, why do I say that? Why would I go out on a limb and say that he was a target and that they weren't having any plans to take him alive? I believe it could be because of this. Go ahead and roll this clip.
Vic. I, for one, am sick of being spied on. This is a great day for me personally. That's all we need to do. Job's done. Let's go get the other one.
They're just sitting there with magnets and plugged in. It's a magnet base and plugs. It is directional. I'm sure that they can just replace this and put it back to working.
Well, we'll take it down again.
Take it down again.
We'll take it down again. We're here for the long haul. All right, I'll bet you we can go down there and circle around, and whoever's leading out, tell me where to go next.
LaVoy, will you just tell us what's happening out here?
We're taking down the surveillance cameras, and
How'd you find out about the cameras?
they were reported to us. Trucks came out here and put them up, and it says they're putting up surveillance cameras, and so.
Just turn it in the light so I can see it in the light. Your shadow's body shadow. Show me the other side. Those aren't cheap.
No, this is not an inexpensive camera. It's very nice. Probably they can control it, what they want to look at. I'm sure it has a
Called a PT.
nice night vision.
Yeah, pan tilt zoom camera.
Yeah,
$1,500.
sure.
How's that make you feel in your gut right now?
Now, as you can see in this clip, LaVoy Finnegan was tipped off to the fact that the FBI was putting in spy cameras to spy on the protesters. Again, we are patriots. We like limited government. We don't like surveillance. We don't like any of this NSA crap. None of it. We don't like our emails being read. We don't like our phone calls being listened to. And so you know what? God bless him for climbing up that pole and removing those spy cameras. Because I would have done it, and anybody else would have done it too. Now, I believe that this was retaliation for LaVoy Finnegan climbing up those poles, knocking down those cameras, and then talking about it. And then, I wouldn't say taunting the FBI, but basically saying, if you continue to do and play these stupid games, we're going to continue to do this as well. And I believe that happened about a week before, I think the 15th of January, which was just about a week before he was killed. And I believe that this was a situation in which this was intentional. To say that, how dare you remove our spy cameras? How dare you remove our equipment? How dare you remove our ability to spy on you? And I believe that that may have been the main motive for LaVoy Finnegan's shooting. Now, I want to finish this segment with a couple of things here. Number one, as I said earlier, we have a situation in which we have a grainy image, an aerial footage image. And we're expected to just keep our mouths shut and say, he had a gun, and that's the end of it. Move on, go home, retreat from the refuge, and go about your lives. That's not how it works, okay? Bottom line is this. Governor Kate Brown signed into law HB 2571 on June 25, 2015. This law requires law enforcement agencies to establish policies and procedures for use and retention of recordings from cameras worn upon police officers' person to record officers' interactions with the public. Okay? That's what HB 2571 was passed. By the way, overwhelmingly, I think only one legislator voted against it. It was like 50-1, okay? So they passed this law. Now, it said that they required them in this law. Release the body imaging now. Release the body imaging now. There is no doubt in my mind that the Oregon police that were wearing these things have these images. they have these images? Why aren't they releasing these images? And to Special Agent in charge of Oregon standoff, Greg Bretzing, who, by the way, was under investigation in 2011 for national security breaches, fraud, and corruption charges in Salt Lake City, Utah. You, sir, are a tyrant, because you are the one that set everything up. Then you had FBI agents infiltrate the refugee and the protesters. Then you had them go into local areas of Burns, Oregon, and cause havoc and mayhem. Now, why did you do that? Very simple. To get the townspeople to turn against the protesters. Meanwhile, the protesters were peaceful. The patriots were peaceful. It was the FBI informants, the undercover guys, that were causing all the havoc on purpose to get the people of Burns to turn on the people that were out there at the refuge and the protesters. See? You're not going to hear that anywhere else but here. Okay? Now, what I'm calling for, anybody watching this video, I am calling for you, I am asking you to do this. I am calling for you to contact Governor Kate Brown at 503-378-4582. 503-378-4582. Tell her you want an independent investigation. Tell her that you want an independent autopsy done on Lavoy Finnegan's body. And tell her to release the body imaging videos, and to do it now. You can also call Representative Greg Walden, who is the representative for that district. His number in Washington is 202-225-5774, 202-225-5774, or you can go to contactingthecongress.org, contactingthecongress.org, or you can call Sheriff David Ward, who, by the way, used to work for the Bureau of Land Mismanagement. You can call him at 541-573-6156. 541-573-6156. Please do not let Lavoy's murder shooting go in vain. Because, again, I will be the first to admit, if they release these body images and you can clearly see that he pulled a gun, I'll be the first to come out there and admit that I was wrong. But until you do that, I'm going with my eyes, I'm going with common sense, and I'm going with the fact that a gentleman had his hands up and was shot, and now, unfortunately, is no longer here to tell us what really happened. Horrible. I'll be right back.
You're tuning into the Josh Bernstein Show, where Josh covers the news the way the liberal media would not dare.
So what does Hillary Clinton think we should do about the Syrian refugees?
I think the United States has to do more, and I would like to see us move from what is a good start with 10,000 to 65,000.
What does Bernie Sanders think we should do about the Syrian refugees?
Do we have a moral responsibility to work with the rest of the world in providing help, bringing some of those people into this country? The answer is absolutely yes.
What does Donald Trump think we should do about the Syrian refugees?
I'm putting the people on notice that are coming here from Syria as part of this mass migration, that if I win, they're going back. They're going back. I'm telling you.
What would Donald Trump do to Iran?
I would bomb the shit out of them.
What would Donald Trump do to Al-Qaeda?
I would bomb the shit out of them.
What would Donald Trump do to ISIS?
I would bomb the shit out of them.
This will be coming to America. ISIS plans to bring these acts of terror to America. It makes no sense whatsoever for us to be bringing in refugees who our intelligence cannot determine if they are terrorists here to kill us or not.
This is not a grievance-based conflict. This is a clash of civilizations.
I'm Josh Bernstein, and I approve this message. Josh Bernstein here. You all know me as the hard-hitting and unapologetic conservative talk show host of the top-ranked Josh Bernstein Show. But did you also know that I have a softer side as well? I am proud and honored to be an official spokesman for a really great group known as the Association of Mature American Citizens, or AMAC for short. AMAC is a group focused squarely on meeting the needs and protecting the interests of America's seniors. We offer a conservative alternative on how to best solve the problems seniors face today. From saving Social Security to gaining more access and control over your health care, to answering your health-related questions and providing you with the products, services, and solutions that you seek. So if you are a senior 50 years of age or older and do not want more government-run and controlled healthcare solutions, there is another option. AMAC is better for America, and AMAC's got your back. AMAC.US. AMAC.US. Hi, Josh Bernstein here. Let me tell you about a fellow conservative and patriot named Arthur Mills. Arthur Mills spent 21 years serving our country. Now medically retired, he's still serving our country, but he's writing books now on how to protect it. Arthur has written 4 books, including the award-winning The Empty Lot Next Door. Unfortunately, due to his medical injuries sustained serving our nation, he must now use speech recognition software in order to write his books. His latest book, Friend or Foe, is an amazing story. Friend or Foe is a fun and entertaining modern-day animal farm that covers economics, environmentalism, and immigration. This story will help open the eyes of your children to the dangers of big government while frightening older readers with its modern-day relevance to many of today's issues. Friend or Foe is available for only $2.99 in both paperback and ebook versions at Amazon or through Arthur's website at www.branchingplotbooks.com. VA benefits only go so far, folks. Please, order Friend or Foe today.
You're tuning into The Josh Bernstein Show, where liberalism is a mental disorder. And Josh is the cure.
On the early entrance polls that we're getting, it looks like there's a 3-man race on the Republican side. Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and Marco Rubio.
This is what a capacity crowd looks like. Real-time voting as you're looking at it, real-time counting, live on international television.
Ted Cruz maintaining a lead. He's got 30% to 27% for Donald Trump, 19% for Marco Rubio.
Donald Trump's worst nightmare tonight appears to be Marco Rubio. Ted Cruz's best gift tonight appears to be Marco Rubio.
Look at how close it's getting right now. 50% for Hillary Clinton, 49% for Bernie Sanders, 73% of the caucus sites reporting it's getting closer and closer and closer.
Welcome back to the program. We're going to do one more quick segment here, and then we're going to cut out for the day. The Iowa caucus, I mean, I have to talk about it. You know, it's what I get paid to do, so I got to talk about it. Some thoughts on the Iowa caucus. Well, on the Republican side, Cruz won 28%, Trump had 24%, Rubio had 23%, and Carson had 9%. Everybody else was, you know, really not worth mentioning. Now, here's a couple things. According to the record book, this is the most votes cast in a caucus in history. So that's a good thing. That means there's a lot of voter participation. That means there's a lot of people that are excited. There's a lot of people that are amped and energized and ready to rock and roll to defeat the left, and that's a great, great thing. A couple things you can take from this. Ted Cruz has spent the most time in Iowa. He did the Grassley, which is the 99 counties. He spent a lot of resources. He had a lot of people on the ground. And he has a very good organization from a grassroots level and perspective. So congratulations to Ted Cruz and to the Ted Cruz campaign. They did a marvelous job. Donald Trump came in second place. Donald Trump does not have much ground game and or organization in Iowa, and yet he still got 24%. So he basically did all that, I guess you could say, on name recognition. He even skipped the last debate, and I was the first person to say almost immediately that I believe that it hurt him in Iowa, and I'm sticking by that. I still believe that him not going to the event hurt him in Iowa. A lot of people disagree with me. That's fine. We can agree to disagree. Rubio was polling at 15%, folks, 15%. He ended up getting 23%, okay, almost right up there with Donald Trump. He had a miniaturized version of Ted Cruz's campaign in Iowa. So he had quite a bit of resources as well, and he did very, very well considering he was polling at 15%. Now, there's a couple things you can take away. You can say that Donald Trump did very, very well because he didn't really pay much attention to Iowa, and he still placed right behind Ted Cruz. You can say that Rubio was really, really good as well because he worked his tail off and he got almost to second place. There was almost a tie for second place. You could say that Ted Cruz spent the most time there and only got 28% and only won by 4 percentage points, and he should have won by more. Maybe he would have, but Ben Carson was also there. Ben Carson took up 9% of the vote. Now, I know that there was those stories about, the Cruz campaign saying that he, was going to drop out, and there was that tweet by Steve King and all that other stuff. But if you think about it, if Carson was not in the race, I believe that half of that support would have went to Ted Cruz, and half of it would have went split probably between Donald Trump and Marco Rubio. So ultimately, Ted Cruz may have won by even more of a margin than he did. I think in New Hampshire, you're looking at Donald Trump and Marco Rubio coming in first and second. Now, I know the Cruz supporters out there are going, what are you talking about, Josh? You just won Iowa. I get it. But I think that that state was tailor-made for him. So it's 62% self-identifying evangelical Christians. And I'm just going by what I'm seeing here, and I call them like I see them. I see a two-man race for the top spot in New Hampshire between Rubio and Donald Trump. I may be wrong, and that's fine. But that's what I'm seeing. And then I see either Cruz in third or Kasich or Christie somewhere in third or fourth, somewhere around there. But we'll see what happens, okay? On the Democrat side, you had basically a virtual tie, which in any case is a loss for Hillary Clinton. The fact that she's still running for president is just beyond me. The fact that we have a felon in waiting for the Democrat ticket is just unbelievable. But I think what's even scarier than that is 43% of caucus goers on the Democrat side, 43% identified as socialists. Think about that for a second. Obama said he's going to spread the wealth around in 2008, and it was like the worst comment in the world, and everyone was freaked out about it, right? Now you have 43% in Iowa self-identifying as socialists, and no one's even blinking an eye. People should be very, very scared and very worried about Bernie Sanders, because I think he's going to wipe the floor in New Hampshire with Hillary Clinton. I think he's going to win by probably 10 points, if not more, in New Hampshire. Don't forget he's a senator in Vermont right next door. Okay? So I don't even think Hillary's going to even be able to compete. And we've got to keep our eye out, and I'll do a future story on Bernie Sanders. This is an admitted, committed socialist, masquerading around as an independent, fooling the youth of America into thinking that somehow he's going to, fight the system. Meanwhile, he's part of the system. He's not an outsider. He's an insider. He's been a senator forever. But we'll talk about that another time. So there you have it. I think that New Hampshire is going to be a big test for Hillary Clinton and her campaign, not to mention the fact that hopefully the indictment is going to be coming. I know the FBI is basically telling Loretta Lynch, you better indict or else. So we'll see what happens. And that or else, by the way, is the FBI releasing more and more information about the Obama administration to get them tangled up into the entire Hillary email gate scandal, which, by the way, I already said Valerie Jarrett is the leak to the media. There's no question about it in my mind. Okay? So what the FBI will do is they'll force her indictment by threatening to release more information to take the Obama administration down as well. Okay? One more thing before we go. There is something called the Freedom Leadership Conference. It is at the Marriott Fair Lakes Residence Inn in Fairfax, Virginia. Admiral Ace Lyons, who I just interviewed last week on the show, fantastic patriot, is the keynote speaker. It is tomorrow, Thursday, February 4th, from 5:30 p.m. to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find out more at freedomleadershipconference.org, freedomleadershipconference.org. One other thing. This show has been dedicated to the loving memory of Robert Lavoie Finicum, the first casualty in the new revolution. That's all I got this week. I'll be back next week. Until then, take care of yourselves. God bless.
Thank you for joining the Josh Bernstein Show. Unabashed, unafraid, and unapologetic. Holding America to a higher standard. For more information on the Josh Bernstein Show or to connect with Josh, just go to StarWorldWideNetworks.com.